Hello and welcome to Who It Could Have Been, where every single week we take a look at an actor or actress who's up for a big famous role, but for one reason or another they didn't quite get it. Whether they've been better, worse, or just plain stupid.
That kind of like that time that Demos auditioned to be Sir Kay's horse in the live-action version of The Sword and the Stone.
Which end of the horse will I be playing? That's kind of important in all this.
I'll leave our audience to decide that.
Oh, yeah. Don't vote for that. But anyway, one of the very first Who It Could Have Beens we ever did for the show was Sean Connery as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. And I think it's about time we dip our toes back into Middle Earth. Today we'll be talking about the role of Elrond, who was played by Hugo Weaving to practical perfection. I mean, the guy, even in real life, looks like an elf. Unless he's wearing sunglasses and he looks like a computer program.
I'm sure there are other actors that have done this, but props for this guy for locking into what I would call the two extremes of fiction, right? Sci-fi and the fantasy realm. One in the deep, distant future, one in the deep past. It's that's crazy to me.
And the superhero genre.
Right, exactly.
In two different cases, you have the more sophisticated V for Vendetta, and then you have Captain America, the First Adventure, Red Skull, the original Red Skull. But tonight we're not going to be talking about Hugo Weaving's career. In fact, we're going to take a look at the person who could have disrupted the career. Who else could you possibly imagine as Elrond? Well, this one actor slash singer, actually is more famous for being a singer, but I'll leave the mystery on. Wanted the role really badly, but Peter Jackson thought that his star power would have overshadowed the film. I think he was right. The actor was David Bowie.
No, it's been done. What would have overshadowed him, in Peter Jackson's case, has nothing to do with his musical career. They just would have been juxtaposing the movie Labyrinth and his role in that and comparing those two things, and it would have been its own problem. Not to mention, there is no goddamn way David Bowie would have done as well as Hugo Weaving in this role, in my ever so humble opinion.
I think that his role, him showing up at that point, David Bowie, I think it would have been distracting. I think for a lot of the reasons you just laid out. Lord of the Rings does have some big name stars in it. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, you have freaking Christopher Lee in the film. But David Bowie is much more of a character in real life and on screen. You're very cognizant of the fact that it's David Bowie. Even with Labyrinth, I'm sorry. I didn't even know who David Bowie was when I first saw Labyrinth, and I thought that's David Bowie. So
I've not heard a single note of music. I am deaf by birth, but I know that's David Bowie.
What other guy can make Dancing with Trolls look freaking cool?
Hugo Weaving?
What other guy can make Dancing with Trolls look just as cool? Hugo Weaving's a talented actor, but I draw the line. I mean, he can barely handle multiple versions of himself.
Although I really think Peter Dinklage would be talented Dancing with Trolls.
I can see it though. I can see David Bowie playing the role, and I can see him playing it decently well. I just think Hugo Weaving is a far better choice.
I'll see you, David Bowie, as Elrond, but I will raise you a very compelling concept. And keep in mind, he was well played by the actor that portrayed him. I would be very interested, and it's a different sort of eccentric, and this character within the Lord of the Rings trilogy in general was known for eccentricity and was very central to kind of the side plot with finding the necromancer and things like that they touched on in the film, but didn't really focus on per se.
Bruce Campbell as Elrond.
I don't think Elrond is supposed to end up being the main character in the film. But other than that, I see where you're going. No.
Did you drop the ring in the Mountain of Doom?
Yeah, basically.
Where I think David Bowie would have been a more compelling fit, again, because the character I mentioned has to be eccentric, is Radagast the Brown. I really think he'd be a fit there. Now, again, the way they did it was awesome. I'm not saying they need to correct it. But if you're going to plug in David Bowie in something where he's going to be a small enough character to make the air quotes minimal impact on the distraction as possible, placing him as Radagast makes sense to me.
I can see him playing a wizard. Actually, even more so that I can see him playing an elf. But I'll be honest, those Hobbit movies were so bad that even if I got a small dose of David Bowie, I'd be even angrier that I'm not getting a bigger dose, because he would be the only one injecting, other than Ian McKellen, injecting true life in those films. So I think it actually would have been worse.
So what you're trying to tell me is that they would have been shining brighter because he was there. You're welcome.
I think that Labyrinth knew how to handle David Bowie and knew how to handle his eccentricities and knew how to give you just the right amount of dose, even if that cod piece was incredibly large.
Your cod piece is, wait.
Thank you. But nevertheless, I think that in the Lord of the Rings world, he would have stood out too much. And I think it would have been a attraction. I think that Peter Jackson was 100% right. So
that's what, again, that's why I think Radagast is a fit, is because the costuming in and of itself forces the character to be subdued. I mean, it's brown. Anyways.
Do you want to imagine David Bowie with bird shit all over his face?
First of all, you're talking about cod pieces, and then you're talking, what kind of fetish crap?
No, because that's part of that costume for Radagast the Brown.
At any rate.
I'm not pulling these things out of my no. Damn you.